Welcome to the Sleepy City Travelers Channel. Tonight, we journey to a place where kings are crowned, where poets rest, where centuries of prayer have soaked into stone. We travel to Westminster Abbey, not just a church, not just a building, but a living chronicle of England, a sacred space where the nation's story is written in stone and glass and carved wood. Close your eyes, let yourself settle deeply into comfort, and drift with us as we explore the foundation and the sacred stones, the legends and the architecture, the mystery woven into mosaic floors. Let your breathing slow, let peace descend, and begin this gentle journey through 900 years of sacred history. Westminster Abbey is not technically a cathedral. This surprises people, shocks them even. Such a grand building, such an important church. Surely it must be a cathedral. But no, its official title is a royal peculiar. Royal, peculiar. Both words mattering, both words defining. Royal meaning it belongs to the monarch, to the crown, not to any diocese, not to any bishop's authority. Peculiar meaning outside normal church jurisdiction, outside typical structure. The Abbey answers only to the reigning sovereign, has since Henry VIII, since the Reformation changed everything. The title marking the Abbey as special, as unique, as belonging not to the church hierarchy, but to the nation itself, to the crown that represents the nation, a royal peculiar, standing apart, standing unique, standing direct under royal protection and patronage. The site was originally a small Benedictine monastery built on Thorney Island. Picture this, not an island in ocean, not an island in lake, but an island in marsh, a marshy thicket surrounded by the River Thames, before London grew, before the land was drained, before the city spread. This was an island, a thorn-covered island, thorny, where brambles grew, where the land was wet, where the Thames spread in multiple channels, creating island, creating isolation, creating the perfect place for monks seeking solitude, seeking separation from the world, seeking quiet for prayer and contemplation. The monastery small, humble, simple, the beginning from which everything grew. Legend says the first church was consecrated by St. Peter himself, the apostle, the rock on which Christ built his church. St. Peter crossing the river at night in a fisherman's boat, coming to this marshy island, to this humble place, to bless it, to consecrate it, to make it holy. The legend unprovable, impossible to verify, but powerful, meaningful, connecting Westminster to the very foundation of Christianity, to Peter, to Rome, to the apostolic tradition. Whether true or not, whether historical fact or pious story, the legend shapes how people see the Abbey, how they experience it, how they understand its significance. Peter crossing the Thames, making this place sacred, this story living in the stones, in the tradition, in the meaning people find here. The Abbey we see today, the Gothic masterpiece, the soaring spaces, was largely built in the 13th century by King Henry III, a devout king, a building king, a king who wanted magnificence, who wanted a grand shrine for Edward the Confessor, the previous king, the holy king, the saint king. Edward had built an abbey here, had been buried here. Henry wanted to honor him, to create shrine worthy of a saint, to build something that would last, that would impress, that would glorify God and honor the saint and demonstrate royal power simultaneously. So Henry rebuilt, expanded, transformed the old Norman church into Gothic glory, the work continuing for centuries. But Henry's vision, Henry's design, Henry's ambition creating what we see, creating the Abbey, creating Westminster as we know it, it is built in the Gothic style, that medieval style, that reaching toward heaven style, characterized by flying buttresses, these arched supports, these external structures, these engineering solutions that look like sculpture. Flying buttresses transfer weight, take the load of the roof and walls, carry it outside, down to the ground through external supports. This allows something revolutionary, something transformative. Massive light-filled windows. Without buttresses, walls must be thick, must be solid, must support the weight above. But with buttresses, walls can open, can become glass, can fill with light. The Gothic style as engineering, as innovation, as using stone to create lightness, to create height, to create the sense of reaching upward, of aspiring toward God. The flying buttresses making it possible, making the impossible possible. The Abbey has the highest Gothic vault in England, stretching nearly 102 feet toward the sky. 102 feet, over 30 meters, 10 stories. The ceiling impossibly high, impossibly distant, soaring above worshippers, creating space, creating grandeur, creating the sense that heaven is close, that God inhabits this height, that prayer rises naturally in such space. The vault ribbed, patterned, creating geometric beauty, creating mathematical perfection. The stone curves meeting, joining, creating pattern that draws the eye upward, always upward, toward the unreachable height, toward the sacred distance, toward God. The walls are made of Reigate stone and Colne stone. Reigate from England, from Surrey, soft greenish stone. Caen from France, from Normandy, harder limestone, pale cream color. Both stones chosen deliberately, for quality, for workability, for beauty. These stones have softened over centuries, have weathered, have greyed. The Reigate aging faster, becoming more friable, more delicate. The Colne harder, more resistant, but both beautiful. Both creating the Abbey's particular color, its soft grey, its gentle warmth. The stones aging beautifully, gaining character, gaining texture, becoming more themselves with each passing century. The great pavement in front of the high altar, this floor, this remarkable surface, is a Cosmati mosaic named after the Italian family who perfected this art, made of thousands of pieces, thousands of fragments, colored glass, porphyry, marble, precious stones, all fitted together, creating patterns, creating geometry, creating beauty that floors you literally and figuratively. This floor was laid in 1268, over 750 years ago, in the 13th century, during Henry III's rebuilding. The pavement imported, Italian craftsmen brought to Westminster, creating this masterwork, this geometric wonder, this mathematical marvel. The pavement is said to contain a riddle, an inscription, a prophecy, predicting the end of the world. The text, cryptic, the meaning debated. Something about ages and cycles, about time measured in impossible spans, about the world's duration calculated in nested periods. Scholars argue, debate, try to decipher, the riddle remaining mysterious, remaining unsolved, or solved differently by different interpreters. The pavement holding secrets, holding knowledge, holding perhaps nothing more than medieval fascination with numerology, with pattern, with embedding meaning in beautiful objects. The riddle adding mystery, adding depth, adding another layer to the Abbey's meaning. The Abbey's layout is in the shape of a cross, the Christian symbol. the cruciform plan, with the head of the cross pointing toward the east, toward Jerusalem, toward the rising sun, toward resurrection. This orientation traditional, deliberate, meaningful. Churches face east, altars point east, prayer moves east, toward the holy city, toward the direction of Christ's return. The abbey following this tradition, the long nave forming the vertical beam, the transepts forming the crossbeam, the choir and sanctuary forming the head, the shape making statement, making symbol, making the building itself a prayer, a proclamation, a physical manifestation of faith. There are over 3,000 people buried or commemorated within the abbey's walls and floors. 3,000. Imagine, kings and queens, poets and scientists, musicians and statesmen, soldiers and clergy. 3,000 lives, 3,000 stories, 3,000 contributions to English history, all gathered here, all remembered here, all honoured in this sacred space. The Abbey as national necropolis, as memory in stone, as the place where England buries its greatest, its most honoured, its most remembered. Walking the Abbey is walking over graves, over memory, over the compressed history of a nation, because space is so limited, because demand exceeds supply, because everyone wants Westminster. Some people were famously buried standing up, like the poet Ben Jonson, buried vertically, standing in death as he stood in life. A practical solution to limited space, a unique honour, a memorable detail. Jonson standing in the Abbey, his grave marked, his vertical burial now part of his story, part of his legend. The Abbey so full, so crowded, so important, that even orientation of burial matters, that even position in death carries meaning. The west towers of the Abbey, those distinctive towers, those landmarks visible across London, were actually completed much later, not medieval, not Gothic from the beginning, but added in 1745 by Nicholas Hawksmoor, the architect, the genius, who designed towers that honour the Gothic past while being distinctly 18th century. The towers completing the facade, completing the visual impact, creating the silhouette we know, creating the Abbey's public face, the towers coming centuries after the body of the church, but looking like they belong, like they were always meant to be there. Hawksmoor's skill creating seamless integration, creating harmony across centuries of construction. The Abbey is home to the oldest door in Britain, made of oak in the 1050s, nearly 1,000 years old, a millennium of existence, of service, of opening and closing. The door made from single trees, giant oaks, split, shaped, joined, held together by iron straps. Medieval iron, hand-forged, the door surviving, enduring, still present, still functional, still showing what medieval craftsmanship could achieve, what skill could create, what faith could preserve. The oldest door, standing, witnessing, connecting us directly to the 11th century, to the Anglo-Saxon past, to the foundation of the Abbey itself. In the centre of the Abbey sits the shrine of St. Edward the Confessor, the reason Henry III rebuilt, the focus of medieval pilgrimage, the heart of the Abbey's sanctity. Edward buried here, Edward honoured here, Edward's shrine drawing pilgrims, drawing prayers, drawing reverence. The shrine survived the Reformation, that destruction, that purging, that eliminating of what was deemed superstitious. The shrine survived because the monks hid it, dismantled it, concealed it, protected it. Then reassembled it when danger passed, the shrine standing now, rebuilt, restored, continuing to mark Edward's grave, continuing to honor the saint, continuing the tradition that predates the Reformation, that survived upheaval, that endures. The chapter house is an 8-sided room, octagonal, unique, beautiful, with a central pillar that spreads out like a palm tree, one stone column, thick at base, branching at top, the ribs radiating, creating ceiling pattern, creating visual wonder, the octagonal space unusual, special, creating particular acoustics, creating particular light, creating particular atmosphere. This room was once used by the House of Commons in the 1300s, before they had their own chamber, meeting here, debating here, making laws here. The chapter house as birthplace of democracy, as place where Parliament began to function, where representatives gathered, where the English system of government evolved, the room sacred and political simultaneously, monastic and governmental, prayer space and debate chamber. The tile floor in the chapter house is original, from 1250, over 770 years old. The tiles featuring images, lions, dragons, kings, medieval iconography, medieval symbolism, medieval art. The tiles glazed, colored, durable, surviving centuries of feet, of use, of time, some damaged, some replaced over centuries, but many original, many still showing their colors, their patterns, their medieval vigor. Walking this floor is walking medieval art, touching history with every step. The abbey's cloisters were the living rooms of the monks, where they would walk, where they would study, where they would wash, all in total silence. The monastic rule requiring quiet, requiring contemplation, requiring inner focus. The cloisters as meditation space, as transitional space, as connection between church and dormitory, between prayer and life, between sacred and daily. The monks walking, thinking, praying, in silence, in the square of covered walkways, under vaulted ceilings, beside the garth, the garden, the open center, the cloisters creating peaceful rhythm, creating contemplative atmosphere, creating space for the monastic life to unfold. The little cloister is one of the quietest spots in London, hidden, tucked away, featuring a small fountain, hidden gardens, peace, profound peace. The city outside, busy, loud, chaotic, but here, in the little cloister, silence, calm, respite, the fountain trickling, the garden growing, the space offering what it has offered for centuries, refuge, peace, connection to the divine through nature and quiet. The little cloister as treasure, as gift, as reminder that even in the heart of London, even surrounded by millions, peace remains possible, quiet remains available, sacred space remains sacred. The Abbey has its own flag, unique, distinctive, featuring the Tudor rose, that symbol of English unity, of York and Lancaster joined, and the arms of Edward the Lion, confessor, the saint, the king, the Abbey's patron, the flag flying from the Abbey, announcing its presence, declaring its identity, marking it as special, as distinct, as more than just another church. The flag as statement, as symbol, as visible declaration of what Westminster is, of what it represents. The stone carvings throughout the building include grotesques, not gargoyles exactly, not waterspouts, but carved figures, strange figures, frightening figures, meant to ward off evil spirits, to protect, to guard, to keep darkness away from sacred space. The grotesques perched, watching, grimacing, being deliberately ugly, deliberately frightening, to scare what would harm, to protect what is holy. Medieval belief in spiritual warfare, in protection through symbol, in the power of image to repel evil, the grotesques remaining, watching still, guarding still, fulfilling their purpose across centuries. The Abbey's windows were once filled with stained glass, medieval glass, telling Bible stories, illustrating scripture, teaching those who couldn't read, the windows as books, as illuminated manuscripts in glass and light, the colors brilliant, the stories clear, the effect transformative, light becoming teaching, glass becoming scripture, windows becoming theology. But much of the original glass was destroyed during the English Civil War, during Puritan rage against what they saw as idolatry, against images, against decoration. The windows smashed, the glass lost, leaving the interior with different light, softer light, clearer light, less colored but more abundant. The destruction creating inadvertent atmosphere, creating the light we know now. Gentler than medieval brilliance, quieter than colored glory. Every evening the Abbey holds evensong, ancient service, traditional prayers, the choir singing, the choir's voices soaring into the rafters, into that impossible height, into the sacred space. A tradition that has continued for centuries, for as long as the Gothic Abbey has stood. The same prayers, the same psalms, the same pattern of worship, day after day, year after year, century after century, even song as continuity, as connection to the past, as living tradition, the voices rising, the music filling space, the worship continuing, the daily rhythm of prayer marking time, marking days, marking the Abbey's ongoing life, its continuing purpose, its eternal function. Prayer, always prayer. The Abbey built for prayer, sustained by prayer, made sacred through centuries of voices rising toward God. Walk with me now through this sacred foundation, this holy ground, where Thorny Island held monks, where Peter blessed, where Henry built, where Gothic soars, where buttresses fly, where vaults rise 102 feet, where stone softens with centuries, where cosmatic patterns predict world's end, where cross points east, where 3,000 rest, where Johnson stands, where Hawksmoor's towers rise, where oldest door opens, where Edward's shrine survives, where chapter house branches like palm, where medieval tiles show lions and dragons, where cloisters held monastic silence, where little cloister offers peace, where flags fly, where grotesques guard, where glass was destroyed and light remained, where evensong continues, where prayer never stops, where England crowns its kings, where England buries its great, where England remembers, where stone and glass and wood and centuries combine to create this. Westminster Abbey, royal peculiar, sacred space, national shrine, living monument, the foundation and the sacred stones, the beginning that continues, the past that remains present, the sacred that persists. This is Westminster, built on island, blessed by legend, constructed by kings, designed by faith, engineered by genius, decorated by craftsmen, inhabited by prayer, filled with the dead, alive with worship, the stones soft grey, the patterns geometric, the space soaring, the light gentle, the history compressed, the prayer continuing, the Abbey being itself, completely, eternally, sacred space made stone, prayer made architecture, faith made visible, England made manifest. The foundation is thorns and marsh, is island and isolation, is Peter blessing, is monks praying, is centuries of worship, is Henry building, is Edward's shrine, is all who came before, all who built, all who prayed, all who are buried, all who designed and carved and glazed and painted, all who sang and worshipped and maintained and preserved. The foundation is everyone. Everyone who made this place, everyone who keeps this place, everyone who finds God here. The stones sacred because of prayer, because of use, because of faith continued across centuries, because of all the voices that have risen to those vaults, all the knees that have knelt on those floors, all the hands that have touched those stones, all the eyes that have looked up to those impossible heights. The foundation is prayer, is worship, is the accumulation of faith across time. The sacred stones holding all of it, remembering all of it, being made sacred by all of it. Rest now in this sacred space. Let the stones embrace you. Let the Gothic heights lift your spirit. Let the cosmati patterns mesmerize you. Let the silence of cloisters calm you. Let the choir's voices comfort you. Let the centuries of prayer surround you. Westminster Abbey, the royal peculiar, the sacred foundation, the place where stone remembers, where prayer continues, where England honors its greatest, where the divine touches earth, where heaven feels close, where 900 years compress into eternal present, where the Abbey stands, where the Abbey prays, where the Abbey remains, sacred, beautiful, eternal. Every British monarch since 1066 has been crowned in Westminster Abbey, every single one, with only two exceptions, Edward V and Edward VIII. Edward V never crowned because he disappeared, the boy king, one of the princes in the Tower, lost to history before coronation. Edward VIII never crowned because he abdicated, chose love over crown, gave up throne before the ceremony. But everyone else, every other monarch, from William the Conqueror to Charles III, crowned here, in this abbey, on this ground, following the same ritual, the same ceremony, the same sacred pattern. 1066 to now, nearly 1,000 years of continuity, of tradition, of monarchy affirmed in sacred space. Westminster as the only place, the necessary place, the place where kings and queens become anointed, become consecrated, become truly sovereign. The Coronation Chair, St. Edward's chair, this piece of furniture, this object, is the oldest piece of furniture in England still used for its original purpose. The oldest, built in 1300, over 700 years ago, still serving, still functioning, still fulfilling its purpose. The chair made of oak, English oak, solid, strong, durable, originally covered in gold leaf, shimmering, radiant, and colorful glass mosaics, jewel-like, creating something that looked more like throne than chair, more like sacred object than furniture. The gold mostly gone now, the mosaics lost, the wood showing through, aged, darkened, scarred, but somehow more beautiful for it, more honest, more real. The chair that has held every monarch, that has witnessed every coronation, that has been present at the most important moment in each reign, still here, still waiting, still ready. Beneath the seat of the chair is a hollow space, a cavity, designed deliberately to hold the stone of destiny, the stone of Scone, an ancient symbol of Scottish monarchy, a block of sandstone, plain, unremarkable to look at, but sacred to Scotland, to Scottish kingship, the stone where Scottish kings sat for coronation, where they received their authority, the stone as symbol, as legitimacy, as connection to ancient right, the hollow space in the chair designed to incorporate this stone, to claim it, to unite the kingdoms through symbol, through incorporating Scottish sacred object into English coronation ritual. The stone was taken by King Edward VI in 1296, taken from Scone Abbey, from Scotland, brought to Westminster, placed beneath the Coronation Chair, a deliberate act, a political statement, a claim. Edward claiming Scotland, claiming its kingship, claiming authority over the northern kingdom. The stone remained in the abbey for 700 years, 7 centuries, present at every English and British coronation, every monarch sitting above it, the stone as foundation, as legitimacy, as proof of union, until 1996, when it was returned to Scotland, to Edinburgh Castle, where it now rests. Coming to the Westminster only for coronations, for the moment when Britain crowns its sovereign, the stone travelling, participating, then returning, the arrangement honouring both traditions, both claims, both nations. The chair is covered in centuries-old graffiti, carved names, initials, dates, carved by schoolboys and visitors in the 17 and 1800s, who didn't realise its value, who didn't understand what they were defacing, who thought it just old furniture, just a chair, not sacred object, not irreplaceable historical artifact. The graffiti now part of the chair's history, part of its story, part of what makes it real, makes it tangible, makes it connected to ordinary people, not just kings, not just ceremony, but to schoolboys who carved their names, who left their marks, who are now part of the story. One famous carving on the chair reads, "P. Abbott slept in this chair in 5 to 6 July 1800. Someone named P. Abbott, who somehow got access, who spent the night, who slept in the Coronation Chair, and wanted everyone to know. The carving, now famous, now quoted, now part of the chair's legend. P. Abbott's moment of vandalism becoming historical anecdote, becoming part of what we remember about the chair, the sacred and the mundane, the royal and the personal, all mixed together, all carved into oak, all part of the ongoing story. During a coronation, the abbey is transformed, completely transformed, with the theatre, a raised platform, built specially for the crowning, constructed in the abbey, creating stage, creating focus, creating the space where ceremony unfolds, the theatre elevating, making visible, allowing thousands to witness, to see their monarch crowned, to participate in the most important moment of the reign. The platform, temporary, built, used, dismantled, but essential, creating the space where history happens, where monarchs are made, where the nation witnesses its own continuity. The most sacred part of the coronation is the anointing, not the crowning, not the moment crown touches head, but the anointing, the consecration with holy oil. This moment so sacred, so private, so intimate between monarch and God, that a golden canopy is held over the monarch, hiding them from view. 4 peers holding the canopy, creating tent, creating privacy, creating sacred space within sacred space. The anointing happening hidden, the cameras not seeing, the congregation not witnessing, just the archbishop, the monarch, and God. The oil touched to hands, to breast, to head, the monarch consecrated, made sacred, made different, the anointing as transformation, as marking, as the moment when person becomes sovereign, becomes God's anointed, becomes more than human. The oil used for anointing is kept in a solid gold flask, shaped like an eagle, called the ampulla. Beautiful object, sacred vessel, the eagle's head unscrewing, the oil pouring from the beak into the anointing spoon. Another sacred object, another piece of the regalia. The ampulla, ancient, historic, used coronation after coronation, holding oil, holding significance, holding the liquid that transforms, that consecrates, that marks the moment of becoming, the eagle as symbol, as guardian, as keeper of sacred transformation. The Abbey has hosted 16 royal weddings, 16, including that of Prince William and Catherine Middleton in 2011. Recent memory, watched by billions. The Abbey filled with flowers, with music, with celebration, but not the first, not even close. The first royal wedding ever held in the Abbey was that of King Henry I in the year 1100, over 900 years ago. Henry marrying Matilda, starting tradition, creating precedent, making Westminster the place for royal weddings, for royal celebration, for royal joy expressed in sacred space. When a royal bride leaves the Abbey, she traditionally leaves her bouquet on the grave of the unknown warrior, placing it there, honoring, remembering, connecting her joy to sacrifice, her celebration to loss, her beginning to those who had no chance to begin. The tradition, beautiful, meaningful, creating link between royal happiness and national memory, between private joy and public grief. The bouquet resting, wilting, eventually removed. But the gesture remains. The tradition continues. Each royal bride honoring the unknown, remembering the fallen, making her wedding about more than herself. The unknown warrior is the only person buried in the Abbey whom it is forbidden to walk upon. Everyone must walk around his grave, not over it, never over it. The grave marked, centered in the nave, impossible to miss. The black marble standing out, the inscription clear, and everyone, king and commoner alike, walks around, shows respect, honors the sacrifice. The unknown soldier representing all who died, all who fell, all who gave everything. His grave sacred in special way, demanding respect, demanding acknowledgement, demanding that we remember. The grave contains soil from French battlefields, earth where men died, where blood soaked, where sacrifice happened. The soil brought back, placed in grave, connecting the unknown warrior to the place of death, to the battlefields, to the war that consumed a generation. The grave covered with a slab of black Belgian marble, black for mourning, black for loss, black for the darkness of war. The marble polished, inscribed, marking this as special, as different, as the one grave that must never be walked upon, that must always be circled, that must always be honoured. The Abbey houses the Lady Chapel, built by Henry VII, the first Tudor king, building his chapel, creating his monument, establishing his dynasty. This chapel features a fan-vaulted ceiling, so intricate it looks like stone lace, the ribs spreading, branching, creating patterns like lacework, like frozen waterfalls, like mathematical precision made beautiful, the vaulting impossibly delicate looking, but stone, but solid, but bearing weight, the ceiling as masterwork, as demonstration of stonemason's art, as proof that stone can appear light, can appear delicate, can appear impossibly refined while remaining strong. The fan vaulting making the Lady Chapel special, making it extraordinary, making it one of the finest examples of late Gothic architecture in existence. This chapel is home of the Order of the Bath, ancient order, honourable order. The colourful banners of the knights hang silently from the walls, each banner representing a knight, a person honoured, a life of service. The banners bright, heraldic, each one unique, each one telling story through symbol, through colour, through design. The banners hanging in rows, creating visual impact, creating atmosphere, creating sense that this space belongs to more than just the past, belongs to ongoing tradition, to live in order, to contemporary honor existing in ancient space. Queen Elizabeth of Fornes and her half-sister, Mary, are buried in the same vault, in the Lady Chapel, resting together in eternal peace. The irony profound. Mary the Catholic, Elizabeth the Protestant, Mary trying to return England to Rome, Elizabeth confirming the break, Mary burning heretics, Elizabeth executing Catholics, the sisters who fought, who opposed, who represented different visions of England, now resting together, the vault containing both, the memorial shared, the inscription noting both, together in death. The conflicts ended, the arguments silenced. Just two sisters, two queens, two women who shaped their nation, resting in shared space, in shared eternity. The tomb of Mary, Queen of Scots, is also here, in the Lady Chapel. Mary, who Elizabeth executed. Mary, whose claim threatened Elizabeth. Mary, who spent years imprisoned, who died on Elizabeth's orders. Mary's monument is slightly taller than Elizabeth affirms. Slightly, just perceptibly. A silent victory in stone. Mary finally elevated, finally acknowledged, finally given honor. She was denied in life. The height difference subtle, but deliberate, but meaningful. James VI, Mary's son, became James III of England, united the crowns, and honored his mother, made her monument taller, gave her this small victory, this quiet vindication, this stone statement of worth. Above the Lady Chapel is the RAF Chapel, Royal Air Force, the pilots, the crews, those who fought in the sky. The chapel featuring a stained glass window, commemorating the pilots of the Battle of Britain, those few, those who stood between Britain and invasion, who flew and fought and many died, keeping Britain free. The window honoring them, showing RAF symbols, showing squadron badges, showing the tools of aerial warfare transformed into sacred art. The chapel as remembrance, as honor, as sacred space dedicated to those who fought his newest form of warfare. In the sky, in the clouds, in the element that had always belonged to God alone until humans learned to fly. The Abbey's bells are rung only on major feast days and royal anniversaries, not daily, not casually, but for moments of significance, for moments that matter. There are 10 bells in the northwest tower, each one different, each one tuned, each one contributing to the peal. The bells silent most of the time, waiting, ready, then ringing out, announcing, celebrating, marking time, marking importance. The sound carrying across London, the bells as voice, as announcement, as the Abbey speaking to the city. The tenor bell is the largest, weighs over 1.5 tons, massive, heavy, producing a deep, mournful tone that carries across London. The tenor bell as bass voice, as foundation, as the deepest sound, the sound that resonates, that moves through the chest, that touches something primal. The tenor bell ringing rarely, but powerfully, each strike meaningful, each tone significant, each reverberation carrying history, carrying weight, carrying the gravitas of Westminster itself. During the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II in 2022, the tenor bell was tolled once every minute, for 96 minutes, to mark each year of her life. 96 years, 96 tolls. The bell ringing, pausing, ringing, pausing. The rhythm slow, deliberate, mournful. Each toll a year, each year a life. Each life compressed into single strike of massive bell. The sound carrying, the city listening, The nation mourning, the bell marking, counting, honouring. 96 tolls for 96 years. The Abbey bidding farewell, honouring service, marking end of reign in the ancient way, in bell tolls, in mournful bronze voice carrying across London. The Abbey's floor is a patchwork of history, different stones, different eras, different purposes. The footsteps of modern tourists fall on the same stones as Tudor kings, as medieval pilgrims, as Reformation priests, as Victorian poets. The floor as palimpsest, as compressed time, as place where all centuries meet, where walking connects you to everyone who walked before. The stones, worn smooth, the marble polished by feet, by centuries of feet, the floor holding everyone, remembering everyone, connecting everyone across time. At night, the Abbey is patrolled by a small team of watchmen, walking the dark aisles, by flashlight, the beam cutting darkness, illuminating, moving on. The watchman ensuring the silence remains unbroken, ensuring security, ensuring safety, ensuring the Abbey remains protected through the night. The watchman walking paths worn by kings, by saints, by monks, by all who came before, their footsteps echoing, their flashlights creating moving pools of light. The Abbey at night, empty, quiet, sacred in different way. The watchmen as guardians, as keepers, as those who protect what must be protected, who watch over sacred space, who ensure the Abbey stands ready, stands safe, stands eternal through another night. Walk with me now through royal ceremony, through coronation and wedding, through anointing hidden by canopy, through oil poured from eagle's beak, through chair carved with graffiti and holding destiny, through stone that travelled and returned, through theatre built and dismantled, through bouquets left on unknown grave, through soil from battlefields covered by black marble, through fan vaults like lace, through banners hanging silent, through sisters resting together, through Mary elevated slightly, through RAF honoured in glass, through bells silent and ringing, through tenor tolling 96 times, through floor worn by centuries, through night watch walking in darkness. This is Westminster in ceremony, in ritual, in the moments that define monarchy, define nation, define continuity across time. Let the coronation chair embrace you. Let the stone of destiny ground you. Let the sacred oil consecrate your rest. Let the royal wedding celebrate with you. Let the unknown warrior protect you. Let the Lady Chapel's fan vaults shelter you. Let the sisters' peace calm you. Let the RAF window inspire you. Let the bells' silence or ringing mark your time. Let the floor's history support you. Let the night watchman guard your sleep. Westminster Abbey, where kings are crowned, where weddings celebrated, where the dead honoured, where ceremony continues, where ritual preserves, where tradition endures, royal and sacred, ceremonial and holy, past and present meeting in stone and oil and crown and prayer. Walk with me now to the south transept, to a corner, a particular corner, a sacred corner, where words rest, where genius sleeps, where the greatest minds in English literature and science have found their final home. This is Poets' Corner, the most famous burial place for writers in the world. The most famous, not just in England, not just in Europe, but anywhere. The world's literary pantheon, the place where words are honoured, where creativity is consecrated, where the makers of meaning rest in sacred space. Poets' Corner, where genius gathers, where talent is remembered, where the word made flesh returns to stone. The tradition began in 1400, over 600 years ago, with Geoffrey Chaucer, the father of English poetry, the author of the Canterbury Tales. Those pilgrims, those stories, those voices that captured medieval England. Chaucer buried here, starting everything, beginning the tradition, creating what would become the corner. But here's the thing, the surprising thing, the detail that changes understanding. Chaucer wasn't buried here because he was a poet, not for his verse, not for his tales, not for his literary genius, but because he worked at the Abbey, as clerk of the king's works, an administrator, a functionary, someone who oversaw maintenance and construction. His job brought him here. His employment earned him burial space, the poetry incidental, the genius beside the point. At the time, at that moment, just a man doing his job, buried where he worked, the literary significance coming later, much later, when others looked and saw, and decided, and began to gather around his grave, to create corner, to make tradition, to transform accident into intention. Nearly 200 years passed, 2 centuries, before another poet joined him, Edmund Spenser, the Fairy Queen, that vast allegorical epic, that Elizabethan masterwork. Spenser buried near Chaucer in 1599, and suddenly, pattern emerged, tradition began. 2 poets together, creating gravitational pull, creating magnetic attraction, creating the sense that this corner belonged to poetry, to literature, to the makers of English verse. Other poets wanting to join them, to rest near the masters, to participate in community of genius, the corner forming, growing, becoming what it is, what it remains, the gathering place for England's literary greatest. Charles Dickens is buried here, the Victorian giant, the creator of worlds, the voice of London's poor, the teller of Christmas tales and orphan stories and industrial nightmares and comic redemptions. Dickens, whose characters live in our language, whose scenes shape how we see Victorian England, whose words still read, still loved, still powerful. Dickens buried here, but not because he wanted it, not according to his wishes, not following his instructions. Dickens wanted quiet grave, in Kent, in small country churchyard, away from London, away from fame, away from crowds. Quiet rest for the man who created so much noise, so much life, so much vivid, teeming humanity. But the public wouldn't have it, couldn't bear it, couldn't accept that Dickens would rest unknown, unvisited, unhonored in national shrine. The outcry, the protest, the insistence, so great, so powerful, so overwhelming, that the Dean of Westminster overruled Dickens's wishes, insisted he be placed in the Abbey, in Poets' Corner, where the nation could mourn him, could visit him, could honor him. Dickens' wishes ignored, for the public good, for national memory, for the sense that some belong not to themselves, not to their families, but to the nation, to history, to the collective memory that demands access to genius. His grave is simple, famously simple, just his name, just his date, carved into plain black stone. No elaborate monument, no carved figures, no lengthy inscription, no Victorian excess, just Charles Dickens, the years of his life, nothing more. The simplicity, powerful, the restraint, meaningful, the plainness allowing the name to speak. Dickens, that's enough, that's sufficient. The name carrying everything, the name needing no embellishment, the name being the monument, the grave simple, the legacy vast, the contrast perfect, the black stone sitting, marking, remembering, letting you stand there, looking down, seeing just the name, feeling the weight of all he created, all he wrote, all he meant. The simple, grave-holding complex genius, the plain stone marking extraordinary life. William Shakespeare has monument here. Grand monument, elaborate carving, Shakespeare leaning on books, on pile of volumes, his works beneath him, supporting him. The monument beautiful, impressive, fitting. But here's what everyone knows, what everyone learns, what creates gentle irony. Shakespeare isn't actually buried here, not in the Abbey, not in Westminster, not in London at all. He rests in Stratford-upon-Avon, in Holy Trinity Church, in his hometown, where he was born, where he retired, where he died. His body there, his monument here, the separation meaningful. Stratford claiming the man, Westminster claiming the legacy, the body in country church, the memory in national shrine. Shakespeare belonging to both, the monument in Poets' Corner, honouring what he gave England, gave the language, gave the world, even though his bones rest elsewhere, even though his grave is far away, the monument sufficient, the tribute earned, the corner incomplete without him, even if he's not actually there. Many writers here are only commemorated, not buried, not physically present, just remembered. Plaques on walls, names carved in stone, memorials without bodies, the Bronte sisters, Charlotte, Emily, Anne, those Yorkshire voices, those more-haunted imaginations, those remarkable talents, commemorated here, but buried in Haworth, in their village, in their parsonage church, their graves far north, their memory here. Jane Austen, that precise observer, that comic genius, that creator of Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy and Emma Woodhouse and all those perfectly drawn characters, that voice of Regency England, that miniaturist of manners and morals and marriage, commemorated here, but buried in Winchester Cathedral, her grave there, her memory here, the pattern repeated, again and again, the Abbey too full, the demand too great, the floor too crowded, so memorials proliferate, cenotaphs multiply, empty monuments, honouring presence through absence, claiming genius for the nation even when the body rests elsewhere. The floor is so full, so completely occupied, so thoroughly claimed, that many memorials now are cenotaphs, empty tombs, memorials to those buried somewhere else. The word cenotaph, from Greek, kinos, empty, taphos, tomb, empty tomb, monument without body, memory without remains, the Abbey running out of space, running out of floor, running out of places to bury, so honouring instead, commemorating instead, creating monuments that point elsewhere, that say, this person mattered, this person belongs to national memory, this person deserves place here, even if their bones rest far away, even if their burial was elsewhere, even if only their name lives here. The cenotaphs filling walls, covering surfaces, creating layer upon layer of memory, of honour, of national recognition. The corner becoming not just burial ground, but memory palace, gallery of genius, hall of fame, where presence matters less than recognition, less than tribute, less than the statement that these voices, these talents, these contributors to English culture belong here, belong to Westminster, belong to the nation's sense of itself, in the nave, not in Poets' Corner exactly, but near, close, part of the same geography of genius, lies Sir Isaac Newton, the scientist, the mathematician, the natural philosopher who explained gravity, who gave us calculus, who revealed that white light contains rainbow, who changed how we understand universe. Newton's monument, grand, elaborate, featuring giant globe, celestial sphere, mathematical symbols, scientific instruments, the imagery of discovery, of revelation, of understanding cosmos, the monument proclaiming, here rests someone who understood, who explained, who made universe comprehensible, who gave us laws, who showed patterns, who transformed mystery into mathematics. Newton buried here with honor, with ceremony, with recognition of magnitude. When Newton was buried in 1727, his pallbearers included the Lord Chancellor, the highest legal officer in England, and world-renowned scientists, the great minds of his age, carrying him, honoring him, recognizing what he was, what he accomplished, what he meant. The funeral state occasion, national event, recognizing that Newton belonged not just to science, not just to royal society, but to England, to the nation, to humanity's understanding of itself. The pallbearers, the ceremony, the location, all proclaiming Newton's significance, all honoring genius that transcended normal bounds, all placing him among England's greatest, not just greatest scientists, but greatest people, buried with kings, buried with poets, buried with those who shaped the nation and the world. Charles Darwin rests just feet away from Newton, the father of evolution near the father of gravity, the explainer of species near the explainer of motion. Darwin, who showed us we are nature, we are animals, we are products of long descent with modification, who made us see ourselves differently, see life differently, see everything connected, everything related, everything flowing from common ancestors through deep time. Darwin buried here, near Newton, the placement deliberate, meaningful, connecting, saying these men belong together. These understandings complement, these revelations both transform, gravity and evolution, motion and adaptation, the laws that govern falling apples and the processes that create new species. Together, side by side, in stone, in Westminster, in the geography of English genius, the world's most famous modern physicist rests here too, Stephen Hawking, who died in 2018, who was interred, his ashes placed, in the Abbey, near Newton, near Darwin, continuing tradition, continuing the gathering of scientific giants. Hawking, who explained black holes, who showed how universe began, who wrote books that made cosmology accessible, who became icon, who transcended science to become cultural presence. Hawking, whose life was brilliant mind trapped in failing body, who spoke through computer, who thought about deepest questions, who remained curious, remained engaged, remained contributing until the end. Hawking here, among the greatest, the tradition continuing, the Abbey still gathering, still recognizing, still honoring those who expand human understanding. His grave is carved with equation, his famous equation for black hole entropy, the mathematics of cosmic mysteries, the symbols describing how information relates to event horizons, how black holes have temperature, have entropy, have properties we can understand, can calculate, can describe mathematically. The equation carved into stone, into his memorial, silent tribute, wordless acknowledgement, the language of universe inscribed, the mysteries Hawking explained represented, not in words, not in English, but in mathematics, in symbols, in the universal language of physics. The equation beautiful, elegant, representing lifetime of thought, of discovery, of pushing understanding further. The grave speaking in numbers, in Greek letters, in mathematical relationships, speaking Hawking's language, speaking truth about cosmos in the only language adequate to task. Nearby, a memorial to Alan Turing, the codebreaker, the mathematician, the father of computer science, the man who broke Enigma, who helped win World War II, who created theoretical foundation for computing, who was persecuted, who was prosecuted, who was chemically castrated for homosexuality, who died by suicide, who was finally, decades too late, pardoned, honored, recognized. Turing's memorial here, in the Abbey, acknowledging genius, acknowledging contribution, acknowledging what was done to him, and what he gave despite it. The memorial recent, 21st century. The recognition late. Too late for Turing himself, but not too late for justice, for acknowledgement, for placing him where he belongs, among England's greatest, among those who shaped world, among the honored dead who made difference, who mattered, who deserve remembrance. This area, near Newton, near Darwin, near Hawking, near Turing, sometimes called Scientist's Corner, the scientific equivalent of Poets' Corner, the gathering place for those who explained, who discovered, who revealed, who made universe comprehensible, the corner of deep silence, of profound quiet, where laws of nature seem to rest, where equations sleep, where discoveries are honored, where the men who found truth, who sought understanding, who pushed knowledge forward, rest together in community, in recognition of shared mission, shared purpose, shared commitment to knowing, to understanding, to revealing how things work, why things are, what universe is, the Scientist's Corner, where genius gathers, where discovery is honored, where those who changed everything rest in ancient stones. Music is honored here too. George Friedrich Handel, the German-born English master, the composer of Messiah, of water music, of music for the royal fireworks, of oratorios and operas and concerti grossi. Handel, who became English by choice, by adoption, by contribution, who gave England music, who created soundtrack for Georgian England, who was loved, celebrated, honored in his lifetime. Handel has monument, showing him holding score, the Messiah, his greatest work, his most famous, his most performed. The monument showing him mid-creation, mid-composition, caught in act of making, of creating, of bringing music into being. The monument honoring not just man, but music, not just composer, but compositions, not just life, but legacy. Handel was so loved in London, so celebrated, so mourned, that over 3,000 people attended his funeral. In the Abbey, in 1759, 3,000, enormous crowd. For funeral, the Abbey filled, overflowing. People wanting to pay respects, to say goodbye, to honor the man who gave them music, who made their weddings solemn, their celebrations joyful, their worship transcendent. Handel buried with state honor, with public mourning, with recognition that some artists transcend art, become part of national identity, become part of how nation understands itself. Handel buried here, mourned here, remembered here. The music silent in death, but living in memory, in performance, in every Messiah sung, in every Hallelujah chorus raised. The Abbey organ, magnificent instrument, grand mechanism, has 7,000 pipes, 7,000, each one different, each one tuned, each one contributing, from massive pipes producing deepest notes to tiny pipes creating highest tones. The organ capable of everything, every volume, every timbre, every color, every mood. The organ as orchestra, as symphony, this complete musical universe contained in one instrument, the organ famous for particular stop, called celestial, creating sound so soft, so gentle, so ethereal. It's almost whisper, almost breath, almost less sound than suggestion of sound. The celestial stop, making organ sing like angels, like heaven, like distance made audible, the sound floating, hovering, barely present but profoundly moving. The celestial stop as prayer made sound, as heaven touching earth, as music becoming something more than music. Henry Purcell, the great English composer, Baroque master, creator of Dido and Aeneas, of anthems and odes and incidental music. Purcell, who was Abbey organist, who played this organ, or its predecessor. Who knew these spaces, these acoustics, these particular resonances? Purcell buried here, right next to the organ he played, right beside the instrument he knew, the instrument he coaxed into beauty, into prayer, into praise. His grave near his work, near his contribution, near the sound he created. Purcell resting, the organ continuing, the music ongoing, the connection eternal, the composer an instrument, forever linked, forever near, forever part of Abbey's soundscape. The musician's aisle, sometimes called that, the area where composers rest, where musical genius gathers, also called the Nightingale Aisle, because of sounds, beautiful sounds, that have echoed here, that have filled this space. For centuries, the nightingale singing at night, singing in darkness, singing with beauty that pierces, that moves, that transcends mere bird call. The aisle named for beauty, for song, for the music that has lived here, that has been created here, that has honored God here. The Nightingale Aisle, where music rests, where song is remembered, where those who made beauty through sound find their rest, find their honor, find their place in sacred space. In the floor of the nave, a small stone, modest memorial for Ralph Vaughan Williams, the 20th century composer, that distinctly English voice, that creator of Fantasia on a theme by Thomas Tallis, of the lark ascending, of pastoral symphonies, of music that sounds like England, like English countryside, like rolling hills and folk songs and village greens. Vaughan Williams, whose music mimicked, captured, embodied the English landscape, the gentle rises, the flowing valleys, the ancient patterns of rural England. His music as geography, as place made sound, as England translated into notes and harmonies and melodies that feel like home, like land, like country itself. The small stone, simple memorial for voice that sang England, that made England musical, that gave the landscape sound. Many visitors, walking through Poets' Corner, leave offerings, small tributes, pens near poets' graves, notebooks near writers' memorials. The offerings simple, personal, meaningful. Pens left as thanks, as acknowledgement, as recognition that these people gave us words, gave us stories, gave us ways to think and feel and understand. The pens left as tribute, as payment, as gesture that says, thank you. Thank you for words. Thank you for creating. Thank you for making English language richer, more beautiful, more capable. The notebooks left, blank pages, waiting for words, honoring those who filled pages, who created from blank, who made something from nothing. The offerings accumulating, being collected, being removed eventually, but always returning, always new pens, new notebooks, new tributes from those who read, who love, who want to say thank you in quiet way, in personal way, in gesture that connects reader to writer across centuries. The light in Poets' Corner, particularly soft, particularly beautiful. in late afternoon, when sun moves, when angle changes, when light comes through high stained glass windows differently, the light becoming golden, becoming gentle, becoming perfect for reading inscriptions, for standing quietly, for feeling connection to all these voices, all these lives, all these contributions, the late afternoon light as blessing, as gift, as the sun bidding farewell to genius, the light making memorials glow, making stone warm, making the corner feel alive, feel inhabited, feel like more than museum, more than cemetery, feel like gathering place, like conversation across time, like community of minds still present, still speaking, still mattering. As you walk these aisles, as you move through Poet's Corner, through Scientist's Corner, through Musician's Aisle, you are walking on history, literally walking on it, the floor beneath your feet, the stones under your steps, are memorials, are graves, are markers. You walk on human thought, creativity compressed, on genius made stone, medieval verse beneath your left foot, quantum physics beneath your right, Victorian novels under your heel, Baroque music under your toe. Every step touching greatness, every step connecting, every step participating in this gathering, this assembly, this congress of English genius across centuries, from Chaucer's medieval tales to Hawking's modern cosmos, from Spencer's allegories to Darwin's evolution, from Dickens' London to Turing's computers, all here, all together, all under your feet, all around you, all making this space, this corner, this gathering place, where genius rests, where creativity is honored, where the makers of English culture, English thought, English identity, lie together in sacred ground. Walk with me through these memorials, these graves, these tributes. Walk over Chaucer, starting traditions. Walk past Dickens' simple stone. Walk by Shakespeare's monument to absent body. Walk among cenotaphs, remembering distant graves. Walk to Newton's globe, Darwin's nearby rest, Hawking's equation, Turing's tribute. Walk past Handel holding Messiah, through Musician's Aisle singing silently, past Vaughan Williams' small stone, through offerings of pens and notebooks, through late afternoon light, golden and gentle, through the compressed history, the gathered genius, the community of greatness. This is Poet's Corner. This is Scientist's Corner. This is where England honours, where the nation remembers, where the greatest rest together, where words and equations and music and discovery all find home, all find recognition, all find their place in sacred space, where Westminster says these mattered, these contributed, these shaped us, these made us, these voices, these minds, these creators, forever honoured, forever remembered, forever part of this place, this abbey, this sacred ground. Let Chaucer's tales comfort you. Let Dickens' simplicity ground you. Let Shakespeare's words echo in your mind. Let Newton's laws explain your world. Let Darwin's evolution connect you to all life. Let Hawking's cosmos expand your wonder. Let Turing's genius inspire you. Let Handel's music fill your heart. Let Purcell's organ sing you to sleep. Let Vaughan Williams' hills roll through your dreams. Let the offerings of pens remind you that words matter, that creativity counts, that making something, writing something, discovering something, composing something changes everything, changes world, changes how we think and feel and understand. Let the late light bless you. Let the corner embrace you. Let the genius gathered here, the minds resting here, the voices silent but still speaking here, surround you, support you, carry you into sleep. Westminster Abbey, where poets rest, where scientists explain, where musicians sing eternally, where genius gathers, where creativity is consecrated, where England honors its greatest, where the word and the number and the note all find their home, all find their rest, all find their eternal place in sacred stone, in holy ground, in the corner where they belong, together, forever, honored, remembered, present still in absence, living still in death, speaking still in silence. The poets, the scientists, the musicians, the makers, the discoverers, the creators, all here, all together, all resting, all waiting, all remaining part of this place, this sacred space, this gathering of genius, this corner, this abbey, this Westminster. We leave the grand now, leave the monuments, leave the celebrated dead, leave the corners of genius, and move into shadow, into quiet, into the parts of Westminster that few see, that few know, that hold different kind of sacred, the monastic spaces, the living spaces, the gardens and cloisters and hidden rooms, the places where life was lived, where routine unfolded, where silence was kept, where prayer was practiced not in grand ceremony, but in daily rhythm, in ordinary holiness, in the simple pattern of monks' lives. This is the Abbey at rest, the Abbey in quiet, the Abbey as home, as garden, as night watch, as midnight peace, the great cloister, an open-air square, 4 sides, 4 covered walkways, arched, vaulted, creating protected path, creating covered way, around open center, the garth, the garden space, the center breathing, the walkways enclosing, the pattern perfect, medieval, functional, beautiful. This was where Benedictine monks lived, where they walked, where they existed under vow of silence, total silence, complete quiet, the rule requiring it, the order demanding it, silence as spiritual practice, as discipline, as way of life, the monks walking these cloisters, day after day, year after year, in complete silence, not speaking, not chatting, not making sound, just walking, thinking, praying, the silence profound, the silence transformative, the silence creating space for God, for contemplation, for interior life to flourish without distraction of speech, without interruption of conversation. The great cloister holding this silence, remembering this silence, the stones shaped by it, made sacred by it, still somehow keeping it, even now, even with tourists, even with visitors. Something about the space, about the shape, about the memory held in stone, still whispers, be quiet, be still. Honor the silence that was kept here. For centuries, the floors. Look at the floors, the cloister floors, worn into waves, into undulations, into visible proof of passage. 700 years, 7 centuries of monks walking, of residents passing, of feet following same path, around and around, the circuit never changing, the route fixed. Walk from dormitory to church, from church to refectory, from refectory to chapter house, from chapter house back to dormitory. The same path, the same stones, the same circuit, day after day, generation after generation, century after century, the stone wearing, dipping, creating waves, creating visible record of all who walked, all who passed, all who kept the routine. The floors now testimony, now evidence, now proof that enough footsteps, enough time, enough repetition can shape stone, can create waves, can make permanent mark. The wave pattern beautiful, unexpected, the stone liquid looking, ocean-like, frozen waves created by feet, by prayer, by monastic discipline making its mark on material world. In the north cloister, stone benches remain still there, still present, where monks taught, where novices learned, where young men being trained for monastic life sat and learned to read, to write, by flickering light, oil lamps, small flames, unsteady light, the monks teaching, patiently, quietly, passing knowledge, passing literacy, passing the skill of letters. The benches worn smooth, shaped by bodies, by students sitting, by teachers demonstrating, by generations of learning happening in this space, this cloister space, this covered walkway. The benches simple, stone, permanent, still waiting, still capable of holding student, of supporting learning, of being what they were, teaching spaces, learning spaces, spaces where knowledge passed from master to novice, from elder to younger, from knowing to learning. The benches silent now, empty now, but remembering, still remembering what they held, who they supported, what happened here, the college garden, hidden behind walls, tucked away, secret almost. This garden, believed to be the oldest garden in England, the oldest in continuous cultivation for over 900 years, 9 centuries of planting, of growing, of harvesting, of tending, the same soil, the same space, the same purpose, garden, always garden, since before the Norman conquest, since before Westminster Abbey was Westminster Abbey, garden growing, garden being tended, garden producing, 900 years unbroken, no interruption, no abandonment, no letting it go wild, always maintained, always cultivated, always garden. The continuity astonishing, the persistence remarkable, the dedication profound, 900 years. Think of it, feel it. Imagine the gardeners, generation after generation, tending same soil, following same seasons, planting same herbs, the garden as continuous thread, as unbroken link, as living connection to medieval past, to monastic beginning, to original purpose, originally, in the beginning. This was the infirmary garden, the hospital garden, where monks grew medicine, medicinal herbs, healing plants, lavender for calming, for sleep, for headaches, sage for fever, for digestion, for wisdom, mint for stomach, for breath, for cooling. The monks growing, the monks harvesting, the monks preparing, creating tinctures, creating poultices, creating treatments. The gardener's pharmacy, as medicine chest, as source of healing. The monks tending sick brothers, using what they grew, what they knew, what centuries of monastic medicine had learned. The garden purposeful, functional, but also beautiful, also peaceful, also place of quiet and growing things and life continuing. The infirmary garden, where healing grew, where medicine sprouted, where monks cared for monks using earth's gifts, using God's provision, using what garden gave. In the garden now stand plane trees, group of them, planted in 1850s, Victorian edition, relatively recent in garden's 900-year history, but important, functional, beautiful. The plane trees, with their distinctive bark, peeling, mottled, creating patterns. The trees tall now, mature, substantial, acting as natural sound barrier against London traffic, against buses and taxis and cars and motorcycles, against the roar of modern city, the trees absorbing sound, blocking noise, creating acoustic shelter, making garden quiet, making garden separate, making garden feel removed, distant, peaceful, even though surrounded by London, by millions of people, by constant traffic. The plane trees standing guard, standing sentinel, protecting garden's peace, allowing birds to be heard, allowing fountain to be heard, allowing wind in leaves to be heard. The tree's gift, Victorian gift, still giving, still protecting, still making garden the refuge it was meant to be. The Abbey has its own private police force, unique, specific, the Abbey Beadles. Not regular police, not bobbies, but Beadles. Ancient title, historic role, wearing traditional uniforms, dark, formal, historical, carrying silver maces, symbols of authority, of tradition, of the Abbey's special status. The Beadles patrolling, protecting, maintaining order, answering only to Abbey authorities, not to metropolitan police, not to city, but to Abbey itself. The Beadles as continuation, as maintenance, as keeping what was always kept. The security, the order, the protection of sacred space, the uniforms making statement, making visible link to past, the silver maces glinting, catching light, announcing, this is official, this is authorized, this is the Abbey protecting itself, as it always has, as it always will. The Pyx Chamber, one of the oldest parts, one of the earliest spaces, featuring massive stone floor, solid, ancient, heavy, and double-locked doors. 2 locks, 2 keys, 2 separate protections. The chamber once used for storing, for securing the nation's gold, the royal treasure, the precious metals. The Pyx Chamber as vault, as stronghold, as the place too secure to break, too protected to rob. The gold kept here, safe here, guarded here, the double locks ensuring, the thick walls protecting, the chamber fulfilling purpose, being what it was built to be, unbreachable, secure, trustworthy. The gold moved eventually, the treasure relocated, but the chamber remains, the locks remain. The sense of security, of impenetrability, remains. The Pyx Chamber, where the nation's wealth once rested, in stone room, behind double locks, in the oldest part of the oldest building, the walls of the Pyx Chamber, nearly 3 feet thick, massive, heavy, stone upon stone, creating barrier, creating insulation, creating separation from outside world, the thickness making the room one of the quietest in entire complex, sound not penetrating, noise not entering, the thick walls absorbing, blocking, creating silence, creating acoustic isolation. The chamber also one of the coolest, the thick stone holding chill, staying cold, resisting heat, the chamber climate controlled by mass, by thickness, by stone doing what stone does, staying constant, staying cool, staying separate from temperature fluctuations outside. The Pyx Chamber as refuge, as quiet room, as cool space, as place where thick walls create perfect conditions for storing gold, for keeping secrets, for existing separate from the noise and heat of the world outside. The Abbey Library, repository of knowledge, collection of books, over 14,000 volumes. 14,000. Books accumulating, books preserved, books kept safe, books valued, some still chained, still attached to shelves, to desks, medieval practice, medieval security, chain books to prevent borrowing, to prevent removal, to prevent loss. Medieval scholars couldn't always be trusted. Medieval students might not return books, so chain them, attach them, make them available but not portable, the chains remaining. Still attached, still visible reminder of when books were precious, were rare, were valuable enough to chain, were worth protecting with metal links. The chained books now, historical artifacts, now part of library's story, now demonstration of how much books mattered, how carefully they were guarded, how seriously their loss was prevented. The chains as tribute, as honor, as evidence that knowledge was treasure, that books were gold. That library was vault for something more valuable than metal, for knowledge, for wisdom, for words preserved across centuries. One of the library's greatest treasures, the Islip Roll, 16th century manuscript from Tudor era, showing exactly, precisely, what the Abbey looked like during that time, during Henry VIII's reign, during Reformation, during Transformation. The Islip Roll as visual record, as architectural documentation, as snapshot of Abbey in specific moment. The roll showing details, showing structure, showing how spaces related, how building appeared, how it functioned. The manuscript invaluable, irreplaceable, showing us what we couldn't otherwise know. What photographs couldn't capture, what memory couldn't preserve. The Islip Roll as window, as time machine, as way of seeing Abbey as it was, when it was different, when it served different purposes, when England itself was different. The roll treasured, protected, consulted, allowing us to know, to understand, to see back through time, to Tudor Abbey, to Reformation Abbey, to the Abbey that was. The Abbey is home to colony of peregrine falcons, these birds, these raptors, these fastest creatures on earth, nesting high in Gothic towers, among gargoyles, among stone figures, among heights that few humans reach. The falcons choosing Abbey, making it home, raising young here, hunting from here. The birds diving, stooping, reaching speeds over 200 miles per hour, faster than anything, fastest animals ever. The falcons watching over city, from their high perches, from their Gothic eyries. The birds wild, free, choosing to live alongside humans, among human structures. The falcons as residents, as inhabitants, as part of Abbey's living community. Not just stone, not just architecture, but home to living things, to wild things, to creatures that choose this place, that return here, that raise generations here. The falcons in towers, silhouettes against sky, wings spread, watching, waiting, living their fierce, beautiful lives, high above the city, high in the sacred stones. Every night, at 8 o'clock, 8 p.m., the Abbey is locked with massive set of iron keys, ancient keys, historic keys that haven't changed in design for centuries. The same pattern, the same cuts, the same weight, the same purpose. Keys opening and closing, securing and releasing, protecting and allowing. The keys unchanged, because what works, what functions, what secures, doesn't need changing. The keys turned, the locks engaged, the doors closed, the Abbey sealed. 8 o'clock every night, the routine never varying, the patterns never breaking, the Abbey closing, becoming private, becoming quiet, becoming itself without visitors, without tourists, without anyone but those who belong, those who live, those who keep watch. The keys as ritual, as daily ceremony, as the moment when Abbey transforms from public space to private sanctuary, from tourist destination to sacred ground reclaimed. The turning of the keys, the engaging of the locks, the closing of the doors, making the Abbey, once again, what it was meant to be: private, protected, sacred, alone with God. Once the doors close, the Abbey silence takes over. Unique acoustic, special quality, or even whisper can be heard from 50 feet away. The silence so complete, so profound, so total, that smallest sounds carry, travel, reach, whisper at one end of nave, heard at other, the silence amplifying, magnifying, making every sound significant, making every movement audible. The Abbey, silence as presence, as thing itself, not just absence of noise, but positive quality. Active state. The silence filling space. Occupying volume. Creating atmosphere. The silence waiting. Listening. Holding. Everything that happens in it. Every whisper. Every footstep. Every breath. The silence making abbey. At night. After closing. Different place. More itself. More sacred. More separate from world. The silence as blessing. As gift. As what remains. When all else stops. The Jericho parlor. Hidden room. Secret almost. Used for private meetings. For confidential conversations. For discussions that need privacy. Need quiet. Need separation. The room featuring 16th century linen fold wood paneling. That distinctive style. That carved pattern. That looks like folded fabric. Like linen. Like cloth frozen in wood. The paneling beautiful. Intricate. Covering walls. Creating warmth. Creating intimacy. The Jericho parlor as refuge. As private space. As room for what must be discussed. Away from ears. Away from eyes. Away from public knowing. The room named Jericho. Biblical reference. Perhaps. The name mysterious. The name suggesting. Walls that fall. Secrets that emerge. Hidden things revealed. The parlor keeping secrets. Holding confidences. Being what it was built to be. Private. Protected. Separated. The linen fold panels witnessing. Remembering. Keeping counsel. For 500 years. The Abbey's bell ringers must climb. To reach their work. 140 steps. Spiral stone steps. Winding up. Turning. Rising. In the northwest tower. 140 steps. Steep. Narrow. Worn smooth. By centuries of climbers. Of ringers ascending. The climb necessary. Required. To reach ringing chamber. To reach bells. To do the work. The bell ringers climbing. Breathing hard. Ascending. Arriving. Then pulling ropes. Creating patterns. Creating changes. Creating the sound. That marks time. That announces celebration. That mourns the dead. The climb part of ritual. Part of commitment. Part of what bell ringing requires. The effort. The ascent. The arriving breathless. To pull ropes. To make bells sing. To do the work that only human hands can do. The spiral steps worn. Patient. Waiting for next climber. Next ringer. Next person willing. To make the ascent. For the sake of sound. For the sake of bells. For the sake of tradition continued. The pancake bell. Historic tradition. Now ended. But remembered. A bell rung. To call neighborhood. To call people. To confession. Before Lent. Before fasting season. Before time of sacrifice. The bell ringing. Announcing. Calling. Time to confess. Time to prepare. Time to make ready. For holy season ahead. The bell called Pancake Bell. Because before Lent. Before fasting. People ate rich foods. Used up eggs and butter and milk. Made pancakes. Pancake Tuesday, Shrove Tuesday, the day before Ash Wednesday, before Lent began. The bell ringing, calling to confession, but also announcing. Time for pancakes, time for feasting before fasting, time for richness before restraint. The pancake bell. Practical, spiritual, culinary, all at once. The tradition ended. Now, the specific bell silent, but the memory remains. The story continues. The pancake bell as reminder, that sacred and ordinary, religious and domestic, prayer and eating, all intertwined, all part of life, all part of rhythm, that the Abbey marked, that the Abbey kept, that the Abbey announced, with bells, with sound, with calling people, to what came next. In the little cloister, that quiet space, that hidden refuge, the sound of small central fountain, often the only thing you can hear, the water trickling, splashing softly, creating gentle sound, constant sound, soothing sound. The fountain in center, of small courtyard, of intimate space, the water moving, the fountain doing what fountains do, creating peace through sound, through motion, through steady, unchanging rhythm. The little cloister, zen-like, meditative, perfect, in heart of London, surrounded by millions, surrounded by traffic, by noise, by chaos. But here, this pocket, this refuge, this fountain, this sound of water, creating atmosphere, creating separation, creating sense of being somewhere else, somewhere far, somewhere peaceful. The fountain as gift, as blessing, as reminder that water moves, life flows, peace exists, even here, even now, even surrounded by city. The fountain making little cloister, what it is, refuge, sanctuary, zen space, in midst of everything. The Abbey features, the Queen's Diamond Jubilee galleries, museum space, exhibition space, hidden, elevated, 52 feet, above Abbey floor, in the medieval triforium, that middle level, that gallery space, built into walls, above aisles, below vault, the triforium as hidden layer, as secret level, as space most never see. Now opened, now accessible, now holding treasures, showing history, displaying artifacts, the galleries allowing what wasn't possible before, access, vision, perspective. The galleries 52 feet up, requiring stairs, requiring climb, requiring effort, but rewarding. With view, with perspective, with seeing Abbey. From height, from angle, from vantage point, that changes understanding. From these high galleries, you can look down at high altar, at sacred center, at focal point of Abbey's worship. You see, exactly as medieval builders saw, from rafters, from scaffolding, from heights where they worked, where they carved, where they set stones, the galleries giving, builder's perspective, craftsman's view, worker's vantage, looking down, seeing proportions, seeing relationships, seeing how spaces connect, how heights soar, how building works as whole, the view transforming, making you understand what builders knew, what they created, what they achieved, the galleries as gift, as access, as allowing us to see what was hidden, what was private to workers, what only builders knew, the view from 52 feet, the perspective from triforium, the understanding from height, making Abbey new, making Abbey different, making Abbey reveal what it kept secret for centuries. The Abbey is living building, not museum, not frozen, not finished, every day. Masons at work, stonemasons, craftsmen working, carving, hand carving, replacement stones, to battle effects of London's air, of pollution, of acid rain, of weathering, the stones decaying, eroding, losing detail, losing definition, the masons replacing, carefully, precisely, matching, medieval technique, medieval tools, medieval methods, the work continuous, ongoing, never finished, never complete, always maintaining, always preserving, always replacing what London air destroys, the masons as continuation, as link, as keeping craft alive, keeping tradition alive, keeping Abbey alive, the building living, because maintained, because tended, because people work every day to preserve, to protect, to ensure stones endure. Another generation, another century, another millennium perhaps. The masons work invisible mostly, unless you know, unless you look, unless you understand that this building survives because of daily work, daily care, daily attention. The Abbey living because it is loved, tended, maintained by those who know how to work stone, how to replace it, how to keep buildings standing. During the Blitz, World War II, London burning, bombs falling, incendiaries raining, fire watchers slept. On Abbey roof, brave souls, volunteers, sleeping among gargoyles, among peaks, among heights, ready, watching, waiting, for incendiary bombs, for fire bombs, for small bombs, designed to start fires. The watchers ready, with buckets, with sand, with water, to extinguish quickly before fire spreads, before timber ceilings catch, before Abbey burns. The watchers sleep in there, on the roof, night after night, through blitz, through bombing, through terror from sky. The watchers saving Abbey, keeping it safe, their vigilance protecting, their dedication preserving, the Abbey surviving, because people slept on its roof, ready to fight, ready to protect, ready to give everything, to save this sea place, this sacred space, this national treasure. The fire watchers now gone, now history, now remembered as the ones who saved Westminster, who kept it standing, who wouldn't let it burn. The Abbey's night watchmen, still walking, still patrolling. Every night, the route taking nearly an hour, full circuit, through nave, through transepts, through royal chapels, dark chapels, unlit spaces, silent spaces. The watchman walking, flashlight beam cutting darkness, illuminating briefly, moving on. The watchman checking, ensuring, protecting, making sure everything's secure, everything's safe, everything as it should be. The route unchanged, for decades, perhaps centuries. The same path, the same checking, the same vigilance. Night after night, the watchman alone, in the dark, in the silence, in the Abbey at rest, walking paths, where kings walked, where monks prayed, where poets dreamed, the watchman's footsteps echoing, the flashlight creating moving pools of light, the darkness closing behind, the watchman as guardian, as protector, as the one who watches, while the Abbey sleeps, while London sleeps, while the nation sleeps, the watchman keeping watch, keeping vigil, keeping the Abbey safe, through another night, as the city of London falls asleep around the Abbey remains. Silent sentinel, standing, watching, holding. The memories, the history, 1,000 years of British history, compressed, contained, remembered in these stones, in these spaces, in these sacred grounds. The Abbey as witness, as repository, as keeper of all that was, all that happened, all who came, all who were crowned, all who married, all who were buried, all who prayed. The Abbey remembering, the Abbey holding, the Abbey being what it has always been: sacred space, national shrine, place where history lives, where memory persists, where the past remains present, the city sleeping, the traffic quieting, the people resting. But the Abbey remains, awake in its way, present in its way, being in its way, the silent sentinel, the keeper of memory, the holder of 1,000 years, standing, waiting, remembering, through another night, when the final bell tolls, at midnight, the last strike, the last reverberation, the last sound marking day's end. The stone walls seem to exhale, seem to breathe out, seem to release. The day, the visitors, the noise, the activity, the walls exhaling, settling, resting, in the cool, dark peace of the Thames, the river flowing, nearby, close, the river that was there before the Abbey, that'll be there after. The Thames flowing, constant, eternal, patient, the Abbey resting beside the river, in the dark, in the peace, in the cool night air, the walls breathing, the stones settling, the Abbey being what it is, at its most essential, at its most true. Sacred space, ancient stones, prayer made permanent, memory made physical, history made tangible. The Abbey at midnight, the Abbey in darkness, the Abbey at peace, resting until morning, until bells ring again, until doors open again, until visitors come again. But for now, for these hours, for this darkness, the Abbey rests, exhales, exists in peace, beside the river, under the stars, in the cool, dark, beautiful, midnight peace. Walk with me one last time through great cloister, where silence was kept, where floors wave from footsteps, where stone benches taught, through college garden, 900 years old, growing medicine, sheltered by plane trees, past abbey beadles with silver maces, into Pick's chamber, thick-walled, quiet, cool, into library, where books are chained, where Islip roll shows past, up to towers, where falcons nest, where gargoyles watch, through the locking, at 8 o'clock, into the silence, the Abbey silence, that carries whispers, through Jericho parlor with linen fold panels, up 140 steps, to bells, hearing pancake bells memory, resting in little cloister, where fountain is all you hear, up to diamond jubilee galleries, 52 feet high, looking down, seeing as builders saw, watching masons work, carving new stones, remembering fire watchers on the roof, following night watchmen through dark spaces, feeling city sleep around Sentinel Abbey, hearing midnight bell, feeling walls exhale, resting in cool, dark peace beside the Thames. Let the cloister silence embrace you. Let the garden's age ground you. Let the fountain's trickle soothe you. Let the Abbey silence hold you. Let the hidden rooms shelter you. Let the bell's midnight toll mark your rest. Let the night watchman's vigil protect you. Let the walls exhale become your breath. Let the Abbey's peace, deep peace, ancient peace, sacred peace, surround you, support you, and carry you into sleep, into rest, into the quiet that the Abbey knows, that the Abbey keeps, that the Abbey offers to all who come, to all who listen, to all who rest, in its sacred spaces, in its ancient stones, in its eternal peace. Westminster Abbey, royal peculiar, sacred ground, national shrine, Livy's building, ancient stones, where kings are crowned, where poets rest, where scientists explain, where music sings, where gardens grow, where silence is kept, where bells ring, where midnight comes, where peace remains, where the Abbey stands, where the Abbey prays, where the Abbey rests, through another night, through another century, through another millennium, standing, praying, resting, being, what it has always been, what it will always be, sacred, beautiful, peaceful, eternal. Rest now, sleep now. Let the Abbey hold you. Let Westminster embrace you. Let the sacred stones, the ancient prayers, the gathered memories, the persistent peace carry you into sleep, into rest, into dreams of cloisters and gardens, of bells and silence, of midnight peace beside flowing Thames, under watching stars, in the cool, dark, beautiful, sacred night.